boots at home. Just as good as if you paid somebody to do it and send them out, which it's kind of better to do it at home because by the time you pay to ship a 15-pound pair of boots and pay to have the soles put back on, you know, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So I don't know about you, but I'm really hard on soles for whatever reason. They start to disintegrate and fall apart, and the boot's still good, but the soles are totally smoked. So what you need to do is get some shoe goo. One tube's actually enough to do both boots. It's like almost 4 fluid ounces. And then you can buy yourself City replacement soles. And my boots are a US 11, and across the ocean that's a 45. So it's important you make sure that you get the bigger one. So don't get, like, if your shoe's an 11 and you need a 45, then don't get a 43, 45, because it's not going to be big enough. These soles are just big enough to do an 11, a size 11 Alpine Star Tech 8 or whatever these are. No, yeah, Tech 8. So first thing you need is a putty knife and a heat gun, or if you don't have a heat gun, which I don't, use just a propane torch. You want to heat up the bottom just a little bit. You don't want to catch the thing on fire or distort the plastic up here. And then you might have to take your toe guards off, little metal piece. This one just fell off on its own. I can actually get another one. And then you can kind of see where these are actually starting to separate on their own. Right here where the chunk's missing. You can pull it off. You want to warm that up, take a putty knife, jam it down in there, and peel the old sole off. And some polyurethane Gorilla Glue. Before I start peeling this off, I just want to show you this. This is the 45-47 sole, which is for an 11 boot. And these ones by City, you put these on these boots, these soles will outlast your boots. You only have to do this one time. You can see how close though. There's barely anything that's left to trim off. Which, if I would have got a smaller set of soles, they would have been too little to use on this pair. One thing you want to make sure you do is right here, mark on the boot on both sides where this inside corner is right here, so that when you put the new sole on, you get that in the same place. Because if you don't, it might feel awkward because you could shift it too far forward. And your new sole, you have that thing kicked too far forward, it might be a little bit awkward for you. So you want to make sure that you get that set up in the right spot. And you can kind of see where the secondary sole's disintegrated a little bit. That's okay. And if you come in there with a little bit of a knife or something like that, just be careful that you don't jam into this too far or start cutting this out of here. You want this to be its full thickness. But that right there won't be a problem. My old boots that I did this to were the same way, and it held up for at least another year. So. own one. Now, I'll have to clean that off a little bit, but it's actually wet in there from...
That's what she said.
Probably last time I washed them. But there's still another membrane underneath there. So we'll just fill that up with adhesive under there. We'll glue the new sole on. That'll encapsulate that. It'll be like new. I'm gonna go ahead and try to clean the rest of this off here with a razor knife and get as close to this secondary sole seam as I can. Now I got the thing all cleaned off, as much as the actual sole that I could remove. And these holes, they're all crummy in there, but we'll fill those with adhesive and then it'll be good. So now I have a piece of 100 grit sandpaper. Just gonna clean off, especially areas where the sole was starting to separate, like right here where that big chunk was. Make sure that I clean off if there's any kind of dirt or anything in there. Clean it off the best I can. And then same thing for this part. I'm going to take this new sole and stuff it. Get the shine off of it. Like that. And that'll give a nice area for the adhesive to stick to. I have everything scuffed with 100 grit paper. You can see how the dullness is on there now. And the bottom is cleaned up the best that I can get it with some sandpaper. Now with a rag, some denatured alcohol. I'm gonna wipe this off. Make sure to get all the residue. Do this part first. Get it nice and clean, and then to the bottom of the boot, same thing. Gotta need 2 hands to do this. Perfect. Now where those marks were, and make sure that this inside crease goes straight up to the marker marks on both sides. See, we'll just have enough, once that's glued on there, to have enough to trim off. I went ahead and pre-cut this sole a little bit, just to get a little bit closer to the size. And then I got some Gorilla Glue and a couple spring clamps and some strapping tape. And I'm not going to film this part, but I'm going to put some Gorilla Glue on here, just enough to cover it all. You could even take plastic squeegee and smear it around, but this stuff's going to foam up a little bit, so you don't need to have it on there really thick. And then I'm going to put strapping tape across here, and then a couple pieces around the side, and then I'm going to pull this strapping tape around the toe really tight and keep going tighter and tighter. And then I could hook up here on the buckle and then go down under here, and then same within the back. I could hook that tape up here or even around this strap and pull the heel in. Then I'm going to put some spring clamps. Like this one with the old sole yet. I'm going to put spring clamps right here, and then probably one in the front. Make sure that's held up tight. I put glue on there. I got my gloves on with Gorilla Glue. If you don't have gloves on, your hands will get stained. I'm just gonna make sure there's no crumbs on the bottom of this boot, stick it on there and tape it up. I got the strapping tape on here. Keep going around. You don't have to go tight first. Just go around, get the sole on there, get it positioned, and just keep pulling that tape tighter and tighter and tighter until you get the sole up tight as you can. And then these spring clamps I'll use to squeeze the toe down and to squeeze the heel down. So I've got the tape. You go around there a little bit at first, just enough to hold it in place. Just keep trying to pull tighter and tighter and tighter until you get the sole all the way up. And then I put 2 spring clamps on the back, just like that, to squeeze the heel tight. It looks pretty good everywhere, except right here in the front. Got this huge gap. I'll just put a spring clamp on the front. Maybe I'll put a little bit more tape on it first. And then once that dries, grind in the edge a little bit. There's that all pulled up tight with that spring clamp now. Looks pretty good. One thing I forgot to film, I put in those holes that were in the bottom where water was leaking in. That's the problem with these boots. Once the sole gets through and it gets into this gray part, the second sole, once that gets destroyed, the boot's garbage, so you gotta hurry up and resole them before then. But I sealed up those holes with shoe goo and let it dry overnight before I did this step. Here's after I took all the tape off. There's some areas that are sticking out a little bit, and I'll cut those off the rest of the way with a hot knife. And then with an angle grinder and a flapper wheel, I'll clean off all that glue. This is a Harbor Freight angle grinder. You could get these for, I think I paid $7.99 for this thing. Then you got a coarse flapper wheel. It's really coarse sandpaper, and we'll use this to grind off the rest of the rubber and clean off the glue. Here it is, all cleaned up. All I gotta do is put the toe guard on the front, and it's done. So in the end, is it really worth doing this? If you can send them out, it's gonna run you like 150 bucks total after all the shipping. Or this cost me $34, so I'm poor. So it's something that I do because it doesn't take that long. And I munch through the soles real quick right here on the right boot. So as soon as it gets through here and starts getting into this second layer, then the boot's going to be crap, so I have to replace it right away. So I mean, I'd have to do this a lot, but the City sole is way better than the Alpine Star sole that comes on these boots. This thing lasts way longer. So, alright man, like, subscribe.